Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast do not reflect the views or opinions of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Make sure you like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please rate this podcast 5 stars where applicable, and leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. It is Sunday the 15th. Oh gosh, Friday was Friday the 13th. How did everybody fare out on that one? Don't tell me. I don't want to know the horror stories. So anyways, episode 44, Boosters, How to Learn. Hey, we've had some fall boosters going on around the country, and I know ours for the state of Michigan was this past weekend. I unfortunately could not attend due to working 55 plus hours this past week. So I think if you count this Saturday, I logged about 66 hours between last Saturday and yesterday. So
Part timer.
I know, right? So, but good news for me on the front, though. The postmaster did hear back from the powers to be, and the route is scheduled to go up for bid on Tuesday, the 17th. Supposedly. So, if it does go up, and when you do all your dating calculations correctly, it's either at the very earliest November 4th or November 18th that I'll officially be regular.
Woohoo!
I know, right?
Yeah, we're not going to be able to live with her then.
And we do have 2 new RCAs in the pipeline. And our one RCA that we did have left resigned Monday evening via text message to the supervisor. That's how that went. My day after Columbus Day was just that. 261 scans, 12-hour day, 2 different loads. So yeah. How was your week there, James?
Well, like you, Columbus Day was nice to have off. The day after Columbus Day was like Christmas in July. Had double the packages, double the DPS, triple the flats. I don't know where they found all those flats, but I didn't get back into the office until 5:30 on a route that's supposed to be back just a little after 4, and me out the door at 4:15. So it was not nice, but
So you
I managed to make
had
it.
an early day on Tuesday.
No, I made it happen, but I was still an hour and a half over my evaluation. Same with Tuesday. It was still a heavy day, and I even had a flat box holder to go with it. And of course, a lot of COVID tests, a lot of Amazon started coming in that day, because some people went with 1-day shipping apparently on the Prime orders. The whole week was just tons of packages overall. Mail did finally settle down Thursday, but Friday it still was moderate for my route. And packages, I did every day I was doing 130 to 170 scans on a route that averages 80. So that's pretty much my week in the office. And then right after work on Friday, came home, packed up, and went to our fall booster up at Great Wolf Lodge in Traverse City. I do not recommend that if you don't have kids and you're not used to kids, because could barely sleep with all the noise going on, even though they're like quiet time's 11 p.m. in the hotel. Yeah, no. It sounded like a herd of elephants through the hallway. It sounded like there was a mess of horses up in the room above us. And I swear, the kid in the room above us was literally running across the room and then face planting on each end of the room. It was crazy.
Probably
And then
was.
and then the pools were nice. I mean, it was nice, but there isn't a lot for just adults in there. Great Wolf Lodge is mainly focused towards kids, of course, but there is an adult only hot tub. You have to be at least 18 to be in there, and don't get dirty thoughts. Everybody stays clothed in there. And the tubes were nice through the building. They really fun little slides to go on and things like that. Nice lazy river as well. And of course, downtown Traverse City, you got old mixed with new and all kinds of different things there, especially for a tourist trap of a town that it is. But before we left today, we did make a trip up to the Mission Point Lighthouse because I love seeing old buildings and old history and things like that. I'd highly recommend people go up there and visit it. It's a beautiful little structure. So, but other than that, that's one of the reasons why the topic is boosters and how we can learn, is because I did just attend a booster, and it's something that carriers can do. And it's a union function, but it's not all the pomp and circumstance and work that a convention would be. And it's great information. You get all different kinds of talkers and things like that, which was great in ours. And we'll go over that in our episode today. How was your week, Josh?
My week was pretty good. Like I said, it sounded like you had an early day on Tuesday. I didn't get done until after 8 o'clock. Granted, they didn't have a truck for me to use, so they said they would pay me the EMA if I used my vehicle to run some of my CVUs and then came back and once a vehicle was available, which I did. Wednesday was a little better. And Thursday was off, which is when the Amazon stuff should have hit. But I was told Thursday, and I noticed Friday and Saturday, there was more postal packages than Amazon packages. But they were heavy, all, through the end of the week. Hopefully this week will be a little better. We'll see. Bill, how was your week?
Oh, well, first I had Monday off because it was Indigenous People Day. Tuesday, going in there, and I was happy to say that I was done by 7:14 on Tuesday evening. We kind of got blindsided, but my route is overburdened. I'm a 62-hour route, and it runs like a 62-hour route almost every day. Thursday, I had the doctor's appointment, and I offered to come in and case up in case they needed to break the route up, because I had a new girl training with me on Wednesday. Now, I want everybody to give me your opinion on this. This new girl was introduced as having 10 years of RCA experience. In the course of teaching her my case, showing how I have it laid out and everything, I discovered she's been with the post office. She's worked in Kansas. She's worked in Connecticut. She's worked in New Jersey. She's worked as a clerk at a plant distribution facility, as a CCA, and as an RCA. When I went to show her how to do the REX entry for WSS, she said, "What is REX?"
Oh my.
Now, okay, I mean, now, the hairs go up on the back of my neck, because how do you have 10 years experience and not have heard of REX? Okay.
Hmm?
Well,
Second of all, when you're teaching somebody, don't they usually have a question on what you're doing, how you're doing it, and all that? Not one question all day long. Now, I didn't know whether or not she was a plant, OIG or postal, whatever, trying to nail me, because I'm a nice target to take out.
Mm-hmm.
But something just didn't seem right about the whole situation. So come Thursday on my day off, nobody calls me to say she called out and said she quit. I just, hey. So I came back to Friday morning. I had parcels left over from Thursday. I had flats left over from Thursday. I had all my clerk mail, which is a tray and a half, left over from Thursday. So Friday turned into an 11.5 hour day for me.
Ouch.
And I sit there and laugh when you guys go, oh, I got 170, I got 160 packages. Boy, I would love to have those days because my average day is 212 packages a day, scans a day. Friday was 276. Of course, it was a nice day. So, weather-wise, I didn't mind. I get to see my customers, people complaining because people driving on the route, they had the guy go by, deliver the DPS at 5:10, and then somebody come by and deliver the parcels at 6:40. And none of them had dog biscuits.
Oh.
Those poor dogs.
Break my little puppy's hearts. Yeah, I know.
Mm.
Other than that, I mean, I did get my drop day, and I spent the day with my son and his wife, her parents, and like I said, replacing toilets in their new townhome, and then coming home to watch the Eagles lose to the New York Jets. So
There you go. That'll work.
just enough so they can deliver their rounds.
There you go.
You'll just give
So,
them
Bill,
the Christian look.
Oh yeah. Oh, more news.
Yeah.
Friday morning, our supervisor comes over and reads us a text from her phone. Our postmaster sent to her, as of today, I'm no longer postmaster of Westchester, Pennsylvania. I don't know where my new assignment is, but I'm taking some time off to decide what career options I have. Now, this is the guy who has saved Bryn Mawr, Newtown Square, Haverford, Villanova. He's God's savior for the post office.
Yeah.
And he got ousted in less than 2 years in Westchester.
Wow.
Folks, let me tell you something. I don't care who the hell they bring in there. We're still going to be there after the next put is out the door.
Yep.
I don't know where they get these people, but they ought to send them back.
Oh, I tell you, man. Yeah, it's been a week at mine too. I besides the sub quitting and having to run the doubles, and got the entertaining factor of watching the postmaster run a full route yesterday.
Oh God.
Well, I ran she ran the 46H, and let's say I was done with my aux route and my 45K about 45 minutes before she was back, and she left the office before me.
So,
Yeah.
Bill, talking about parcels, it's been a couple of weeks now. How's that machine working out?
Well, let's see. It's pretty good. I average 3 missed sorts a day, as everybody else does. I keep getting this one from California going to the Bronx because the barcode says 1050 Airport Road, Westchester, PA, but there's no Bronx addresses there. And at the end of the line, they have a cage where they have to sort the parcels out that the machine can't read. And I'm sitting there just looking at it. Hold it. This is a black and white label. I can read it, Why can't the computer read it?
Mm-hmm.
But, we have a supervisor who sits on her ample ass and says, 8-2 carriers don't leave yet. Your spurs aren't done yet, which are the ones that fall off the end of the line. And then they bring you over 2-3 tubs of spurs. It's like,
Yep.
Are you kidding me?
Well, we don't deal in spurs, so why are we waiting for spurs when we don't deal in spurs?
Well, we call them spurs, you numbnuts.
Hey, we got to be technical here. We got to be correct here. Rural does not deal in spurs because spurs are small parcels and rolls that are smaller than a shoebox.
Well, you know what? I've been doing this for 25 years. We've been calling them spurs. So, spur this.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tease.
I promise.
All right. So Before we get into this, I do have to put this out there. We want to send our sincere condolences to Vice President Pitts over the passing of his father, Jewel Pitts, who passed away this past weekend. So we send our heartfelt condolences to him and his family right now.
A nice man.
We want to be sincere about it because we do care about our leadership of the union craft, even as a person-to-person issue. We may not always agree with things, but when it comes to being human, we all are human here. That's the most important part of this, is that we are all human. We are all part of the rural craft.
Boy, you sound like Bridget trying to, suffocate my opinion.
Oh boy. Is it gonna be one of those nights?
It's starting to sound like it there, Kristen. It's
Do I
starting
have to
sound
go
like it.
find? Do I have to go get another drink?
Yes,
I'm
mommy.
thinking so at this point.
I'm about to get my dollies and go home.
Uh-oh.
You gotta take your ball and go home like the Joy did at the national convention?
No, my dollies.
Your doilies?
Dollies, like my little Barbie dollies.
Oh, your package haulers that you use on the route. Oh, your dollies. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, and my truck still hasn't come back,
Oh, fun.
which has my hand cart and boat hook in it.
So, getting into a lot of this discussion about becoming more involved and learning more from the union, there are a lot of events that happen in all different regions where you can actually learn things. Not only do you have your county or local regional meetings in your state, but some states put on boosters. Like here in Michigan, we put on a spring and a fall booster for the craft. And they bring in special guest speakers to enlighten the rural craft a little bit more. Like this past weekend, I had the luxury of being able to attend our fall booster in Traverse City, as I said in the intro. And within that, not only did we have our usual union speakers, like our president and our auxiliary president, the PAC chair, and our insurance representative, we also had our district manager from Michigan District 2, Kristen, your district.
Yes.
And also we had a member of the Better Business Bureau talking about scams and how to recognize them as a postal carrier. We get those text messages saying we're holding your package until payment is made, or we cannot complete delivery until you follow this link, which never click on a link you don't trust from somebody you don't trust. So, but there's so much information to be had within the rural craft that even if you try to learn it on your own or learn it through a podcast, there's still even more out there than that. And being able to put on these little meetings, they call it information boosters, is a great way to do that. I know Bill has said that he doesn't have boosters in his area, but Josh says his is coming up shortly. So, and Josh has been to a booster. So Josh, why don't you start us out? What was it like at your last booster you attended? What did you learn? Did you learn anything new? Was there stuff that you may not have thought of at that booster?
I don't want to say there wasn't anything I would not have thought of, but they had the insurance reps, safety, upcoming events, a lot of information, what's going on with Rex at the time, because that was in the fall, last September, October time frame, like this time frame. So we were in that holding pattern at that point. They did have representatives from the Rural Carrier Benefit Plan there, giving out information on what changes were coming up for the new year with the plan and coverage. Because by this point, they will have just about finalized everything that will be or won't be covered, what they've added additional coverages. I know in the past we have tried to eliminate the need or the requirement to have the fall booster because, at least in our state, more than half the people that show up are required to be there. Most of the rest of them are your retirees and or seasoned vets, we'll say. And it got shot down by a lot of the older members. So, which is why we still have it. What kind of information they put out this weekend for you, James?
Like I said, we had the usual, the pack, the insurance, and of course the regular officers of the state board there for the event. And then we had the Michigan 2 district manager who actually talked about what they're doing in Michigan 2 for the rural craft. And an interesting fact that I found out from him is that he has worked really hard to get the disputes resolved for this last mini mail survey, not the one we just did, but the one before it. And he even threw Michigan 1 manager under the bus about him not getting the disputes done because nobody in Michigan District 1 has gotten their disputes back. So, but there was a lot of information about what he's doing and how they're trying to fix things. And he even told us there are some managers out there that are trying to reduce costs of the post office by over $1 million. They have what they call belts that they could earn by reducing costs for the post office. And of course, Michigan 1 and Michigan 2 are competing for a yellow belt, which I believe is reducing costs by $100,000. And then the highest one, which is the black belt, is the $1 million club. So that's one of the reasons why these district managers are fighting for your evaluations to go down and why they're fighting with you doing your inputs, fighting with you for all this other stuff. So that was a great correlation as to what's going on through a little piece that he's trying to entice us to help him reduce those costs. So that was one of the things that we learned. And then the Better Business Bureau guy was great information because he was talking about these different little scams that are going on across the country. And one of the big ones that we have, and I've actually seen this on Scammer Payback, is they use what they call money mules. So if you're paying attention and you suddenly see one of your customers, it doesn't have to be an elderly customer. It can be a younger person. That could be 18 to 25 years old. In fact, 18 to 25-year-olds actually get scammed more than a 70-plus-year-old, according to the Better Business Bureau. But if you see all these large packages coming, usually they're books or magazines that people have actually stuck money in to sneak it through the postal service as a money mule to ship it overseas to these scam artists. So if you're seeing this, they'll usually get those packages for a month or maybe 2 months before they're not paid and they start asking, why haven't I been paid yet? Why haven't I been paid yet? And then they turn around and they stop using that person, move on to the next scammed person. So that was great information to have and something that I wouldn't have even thought about myself personally. I wouldn't have thought of looking for a large amount of packages going to a single person like that. I would think, oh, they got birthdays or Christmas or something like that. So that was great to learn. And then the last day was actually a Q&A just with the district rep and the assistant district reps answering questions from the audience. And it started out with, you had to have written questions to start it out. But as the written questions were being asked, they allowed us to actually step up to the mic and do follow-up questions to the question that was answered. So you got a lot more information out of your district representatives, whether it be your DR or your ADR. So it was great to have that. And just the information, it was compact, and they made it actually easier to understand that way. So it was great to have this little conference to get together and learn all this stuff. But I know Kristen went to last year's fall booster and spring booster as well. So did you want to talk about that too yourself?
I mean, I went to this past spring as well. Like I said, this is only the second booster I've missed since I started going to them back in 2015. Fall of 2015, I think it was my first one. So, but no, yeah, they usually have, your guest speakers, and whether it's somebody local or somebody that does, one of our benefits type people, reps, or I've sat through TSP retirement seminars at boosters. You always got some good information, and then the last day is always usually closed out with the steward Q&A.
And unfortunately, Bill, you're not going to any of these boosters in your area. But I wanted to know, because you don't have boosters there, would they be willing to have you go to another state's booster nearby?
Only if it's an open booster. And since we don't get notified of the dates and location, it's hard to participate in something that they don't pass outside of their immediate membership. So, I got a question about your $1 Million Club, though.
Yeah.
Has management ever considered following the contract so that they don't have to pay out hundreds of thousands of dollars in grievances all the time?
No, that's an idea right there.
I mean,
unfortunately, I wasn't able to get up and ask him a question like that. Because
in Westchester, my last settlement was for $14,000 for 9 people. And in the meantime, the city carrier side are now up to $340,000 of grievances this year.
And that's just your office.
That's my office, one office.
Wow.
Well, I mean, that's a suggestion that we can make, but will it fall on actual listening ears is the other question. Because instead of doing the right thing and fixing it, we found that management would rather climb a tree to lie than stand on the ground and tell the truth. So, and that includes them talking to their bosses.
Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah. But we can always try. That's the biggest thing is we can always try to open the eyes of management. And the way we do that is learning as much as we can through as many events that we can possibly get to, as well as through other sources of information like the union website and other sources that you have, like your fellow coworkers in your office. Don't ask management. They won't know.
Well, that's 100% correct. I mean, I showed our supervisor where she's required to put the PTR up at the end of every day. And she's required to put up the radar reports. And she says, just because it's in your magazine doesn't make it so. I looked at her and I said, just because you're supervisor doesn't mean you know anything. And I wonder why they don't like me.
My supervisor had no clue how to get to the PTR report.
Well, yeah, I have printed instructions on how to do both because they keep losing them or forgetting how to do it.
I have not seen a PTR yet. And the last 2 weeks, the radar report that they posted was for the 28214 zone, not the 17 zone. So the three of us in my zip haven't seen our numbers.
File a grievance. File, file, file.
Oh, I will.
And then file some more. But since we're on this topic of events you can go to, I did want to go over that the next big events, other than these boosters, are your regional conferences. Now, you don't have to be a delegate to go to the regional conferences. There are ways that you could be supported in some areas to go to these conferences. It is not a guarantee that you will, and it's not a guarantee that they'll support you fully for the cost of going to one of these. Plus, you have to take time off of work to go to these events. It is protected to go to a union event, including boosters, conferences, conventions, things like that. But the very first important one's coming up in January, and that's the South Atlantic Conference on January 27th through the 29th in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, if you are in the South Atlantic Conference region, check your local union website for information on that. That would be your state website, if your state has a website. It should be in your state magazine. It should also be on your national magazine as it gets closer as well. So keep an eye out for that. The second one coming up is the Southwest Area Conference. That's February 15th. I think it's the, let me pull it up here. You got to access their website. How nice! But I believe it is, they have it blocked off on their calendar in Texas, which I don't have a login for Texas. But they have it from February 15th through the 20th is their block for that. So that's the time that they're going to be there. So check your Southwest area schedule on your state, whether it's state magazine
James,
or those.
I
What?
just want to say, Zach, the room block is open as far as I know.
Yes.
So if you're thinking about and wanting to go, you want to make sure you get a room sooner than later because they've outgrown that hotel already years and years ago.
And,
Mhm.
and the present owner of the hotel isn't happy about having SAC there either.
No,
They have,
they're not.
yeah, they have new owners who didn't want to honor the contractual obligations of SAC, and they had to sue and countersue, to get those dates and hold those reservations.
Yes, they
Mhm.
did.
Yep. And then following that is Bill's area in the Eastern States Conference, March 15th through the 17th.
Hey, my birthday's the 16th. Should I go and
Welcome on out.
celebrate? I was going to say, go and celebrate it out with Bill.
Yeah,
There you
come
go.
on.
And then, so that's going to be in your Eastern state magazines for that information. Western states is April 13th through the 15th. So if you're in the Western states, of course, your state magazine will have that in there. And then lastly, but not least, is the 2024 Mid-States, which is May 3rd through 5th, right here in Michigan. So if you want to come to Mid-States and meet at least me and maybe Kristen, if she can get time off, I'll be at the Michigan one for sure.
Figuring 2 weeks after that, I think. I'd have to look at the date again. May, that's... Oops. Calculator, not calendar.
But yeah.
Yeah, because that's March. That will help. Because I believe it's the following weekend is my daughter's graduation. No, 2 weekends after that. Yeah.
And as we said about that, there could be fall boosters coming up, like Josh has his coming up. Or there could be spring boosters before or after these regional conferences, which is another great opportunity to get information. And of course, your local meetings are a great information tool as well. But only you can help yourself get more information and can help fellow carriers get more information. You can't rely on anybody else but yourself to get that information out there to people. And the more participation you have in the union, the more informed you are as a carrier, and the more you are a bane to management's existence. Right, Bill?
Not only management, but the national board too.
Anybody.
You know?
Anybody with less experience and knowledge in the stuff that we deal with. You got to
So
know
that-
more than anybody when it comes to this craft. Even more than us. You got to know more than us. I'd rather have people more knowledgeable in the craft than I am. I'd rather come to you guys and have you guys answer my questions.
I'll get back to you. Let me look into that.
Send me an email. Send me an email.
But no, the basis boosters and conferences. Boosters are gonna have the state information, your benefits information, stuff like that. Stewards are usually easily reach out and touch them while you're there. Don't actually reach out and touch them, but you can get in
Unless
touch with
they're
them.
into hugging.
Yes, in person while you're there, I should say. And then, your regional conferences, you have the majority of the national board there in one way or another. So you do have presentations by national board members. You have TSP benefit seminars as well. I've even had some that had seminars I've been to in the past that, you had one for RCAs, and you had one for academy instructors, and one for local officers. And so, yeah, there's a lot of different informational stuff. And that's the nice thing about it, because there really isn't the business aspect of the meetings like conventions. So the conferences and boosters are good for learning, rather than the brain meld of conventions and actually having to use your brain.
Well, you kind of kick-started a thought for our next episode there.
Yes, dear.
Dealing with stewards, area stewards, ADRs, and DRs in regards to not responding. I think that's a topic that needs to be addressed. I've been seeing an awful lot in social media in regards to the failures to duly represent our craft. And I'd like anybody that has information on that to DM us and let us know what your thoughts are, what your problems are. If you have some good stewards or ADRs, let us know so we can prop them up. If you have any problems, we can give you some guidance on how to address those situations. That might be a good topic for our next episode.
That'd be a great episode. I think that as we go through and work our way through the process, we can tell you how to go about that, how to get where we're going, and how to see results from those actions.
Absolutely.
Now-
Absolutely.
Now, the biggest things you can take away is boosters are very informal because they're state level. You're going to get state information. You're going to get just that. Go into regionals, you're going to get regional information. National, you're going to get national information. But the more groups you get involved, the less access to open information there is. It's more controlled the larger the group gets. But I've seen in mid-states where they'll let you stand up at the mic and ask 3 or 4 questions in a row, whereas at national you're only allowed 1 question because there's so many people and they wouldn't be able to get through everybody in time. Or they'll just storm off stage like the Joy did. But
oh.
for this booster here, they allowed us to ask a few questions of the district manager before we went on break. And then the Better Business Bureau guy allowed us to ask a ton of questions to him about the organization, what they do, and things like that. And just so you know, the Better Business Bureau is not attached to the federal government.
No, it's not.
It is a 501c3 nonprofit company that was actually started by businesses that treated their clients better and were trying to push out shady businesses. So that's what they're doing now. Still to this day.
I'll reserve comment on that until we're off the air.
I see how you are.
Well, that just tells people that, hey, when we actually record these, we do these on a live stage. And there is a pre and post show that is not recorded. Because that allows us
It's
to
not necessarily that it's not recorded, it's just edited
unwind.
for the
It
most
allows
part.
us to unwind.
It's not
And
podcasted.
it is not podcast. It's still not associated with the USPS or the NRLCA. As we say in the disclaimer at the beginning of the podcast, the views expressed are those of the presenters only, do not express the views, opinions, or strategies of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. Because we are not associated in that aspect. We do not speak for either organization. We are just a group of people doing a concerted effort to help educate the craft to better the craft as a whole.
Yeah, we're just sitting around the round table shooting the shit with each other for the most part.
Ain't that the truth?
Oh,
if you guys weren't listening to us, we'd still be doing this.
Oh yeah.
We'd still be having these conversations because we're united together in this situation. We have one thing in common to start with, and that is we are rural carriers in the rural craft. And we want to talk about that with each other, just like you do your coworkers at work. The only difference is we're hundreds and thousands of miles away from each other.
Supposed to talk to my coworkers at work?
Thanks.
I got woke up 2 different times by my phone ringing by 2 different carriers today. They're like, "Were you sleeping?" Yeah, I just worked half my life away this week. Yes, I'm sleeping today. Thank you. That's really all I did.
Well, these falls boosters, are you given the opportunity to, like you said, chit-chat, round table, reach out and touch, but not physically touch the people that you are concerned about in regards to representing us at the national level? Do you have that opportunity? Just sit around and spitball ideas and, where the union's going, how management's treating you and everything?
That really came up at this event in the meeting itself, in the booster itself. But outside of that, there were several groups of people that got together outside of that and were discussing issues in the post offices and finding solutions, and even had our ADRs and our DR involved in those conversations. You can have that ability at most of these events if you get the people together to do that. And when you only have 85 people that we had at this booster out of, I think it was 4,000 rural carriers in Michigan. It was nice to have that little group session with smaller groups about it, but anybody can do that if they tried. Just have to ask the question on the board there.
And anybody who wants to attend these boosters, use the order of consideration as your argument for attending them, because They have to call local offices. They can split routes. They can have CCAs carry the routes. They can have management carry the routes to give you adequate coverage. But they should not deny you ever unless it's extreme emergency. And then, even then, it's questionable as to what is an emergency by management standards. An emergency might not be them having to carry a route.
Yeah, whereas in my case, after this week, I became the only help holding down a route. And we did reach out to other offices, but unfortunately, Saturday is not a day to be able to find coverage. So, yep, I worked my double.
And don't forget Article 24.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Nope.
Employees will be granted annual leave or leave without pay at the election of the employee to attend national, state, and area union conventions, provided that a request for leave has been submitted by the employee to the installation head as soon as practicable, and provided that approval of such leave does not seriously adversely affect the service needs of the installation. That seriously adversely affect is not superseded by anything other than the order of consideration. They have to follow the entire order of consideration first before denying you leave for a union event.
And then you call out sick.
We do not condone call-outs, but carriers have used that as an excuse.
So, James, you said you guys had about 80 or so people in attendance this weekend?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Last year we had 30, 35
What?
at our fall booster.
And how many rural carriers, dues-paying rural carriers, do you have in your region, in your state?
4,000.
We have about 4,400 routes. I'm not sure how many of those are dues paying.
Okay. So we'll say about 4,000 like us. So that just goes to show you that either there isn't enough help, people aren't enticed to go to these things, or they're so disenfranchised with the information and things that are going on that they don't want to attend anymore. And the thing I want to see is I want to see these numbers go up. I want to see the fall boosters, the spring boosters, the mid-states, the area conferences, the national conference. I want to see the numbers go up of first-timers that attended. We had 7 first-timers to this fall booster. I was proud of that because last year I was one of 2 first-timers to the fall booster.
I was probably the only first timer last year, as far as I
So
know of.
we definitely want participation.
You know, like I said, the state has, or the constitutional change has been proposed to eliminate the requirement to have it, and it got voted down by a lot of the retirees. Because, like I said, 30, 35 people showed up, were there. Half of those are required to be there. Whether they're a board member or, on a committee.
I think in my case, I think 3/4 of them were not retirees at the fall booster. I was surprised. There were a lot of actual carriers there actually asking questions about carrier issues, including Rex and scans and the 4241s and things like that. I was proud to see that turnout at this booster. It was great to see. I don't know the exact numbers of who was retired, who wasn't, but it seemed like a lot of regular carriers and RCAs were there too, which was surprising for a Saturday.
That's awesome.
No offense. No offense, Kristen.
No offense taken. It's just how it is currently, you know.
Well, C Muffins wants to know what it would take to entice people to come to boosters. Well, how about some partial reimbursement for the expenses? How about the fact that you let the new people get involved in these boosters? Putting them on a committee or two to introduce them to the process of holding said events. How about getting them involved in regards to a Q&A session? And then you should be able to do this, a Q&A session right on the floor about the issues that, concerning the carriers. I mean, wouldn't it be nice? I mean, I've got an email that I responded to in regards to somebody getting married and this and that and the other thing. And I responded back to them, and, I've got 14 other, likes, goats and everything else because of the fact that you shouldn't have to choose between a wedding and work. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I got other ones that, people are DMing me in regards to, the national board. And I says, hey, for the last 5 years, I've been up there banging the drum with others from United We Scan. And we need to change the president, the vice president, the director of labor operations, director of steward operations. Because until we put together a united group as a, platform, you're not going to get rid of all 4 of them. And and without at least 3 of them being, unseated, nothing's going to change.
Because it's an echo chamber at the top.
Yep. And you need 3 to be the ruling majority on the national board of 5.
Yep.
So we have to replace at least 3 of those people, starting with the president.
So
absolutely agree.
The other side of it is you have to also think about a lot of the people that attend conventions and attend these boosters, attend other events, are on table 1 for a lot of them.
Yeah.
They can afford to go to these and have the leave without pay on their checks. It doesn't affect your retirement computation date either, because it's a union event.
Hey, but there's some of us diehard RCAs that make it work, though.
Those that are on table 2, RCAs, those that aren't in the financial stability of some of those that are on table 1, can't afford to take the time off to do these things. Like me, I worked Friday, drove up Friday night, got in at 10:30 at night to be downstairs at the booster at 7 a.m. And I still had to unpack my stuff, get myself ready for bed, all that stuff, before I even went to the booster. So trying to find a way to work it out to go to these events can be beneficial to a lot of people. And Kristen is a great example of that. She goes into debt every time she goes to a union event.
She literally
goes
do.
in the negative.
I
go to the union event.
Yeah, I do. Whether it's taking out a loan or maxing out credit card or 2, I've been known to play the credit card roulette to pay for dinner. It's not every time do I get reimbursed. I've gone to national the last 2 years in a row completely on my own dime. I have gone,
Let me ask you this.
Yes, she bought dinner, but you know what I mean. And I did share a room with a friend of mine, but I got no reimbursement from the union, local, state, none.
And why do you do it?
I do it for the information. So if there's something that is being released out there that I hadn't heard yet, or you finding new information on something, You can take that back to your office, and if it affects somebody, you can go let them know, hey, guess what I just heard this weekend? Or guess what I just found out this weekend? I do it for the information. I mean, it's nice to see my postal family, but it's not what I'm there for as prime reason. I don't hang out late at night with everybody. I'm usually in bed
Um,
quite early.
um, hang out late at night.
Okay, so I'm talking boosters and conferences. I'm not talking national convention because you're up to the middle of the night anyways. Yeah.
Because you're trying to go through all the paperwork that they just gave you that you guys are going to be talking about the very next day.
So at that time, you might as well just do it as a round table with the friends and the alcohol. So you can sleep that night.
Keep your eyes open anymore. Yeah, until you can't keep your eyes open anymore. And you're falling asleep sitting out by the river.
But I really haven't done a lot of sightseeing or touristy stuff when we go other places. I mean, I went to a movie in not this past Mid-States, but last year with one of the other carriers, but that was really it. So we wanted to go see the movie at the IMAX. I was like, hell yeah, let's go. So we went to a later show, but that was really it. I mean, I don't do the touristy stuff. I usually don't do a lot of the extras. I don't golf, thank God. No, it's just always pretty much hang out at the hotel and straight to business or go out to dinner or something with a couple others. That's about it for me anyways.
Yeah, and like we said, even going to national convention, there's a lot of information there. We had Postmaster General DeJoy there, and we were so lucky to be able to make him storm off stage like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had what was he? He was a legislative representative that came in.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who that was. But then you also have a lot of other information there in the halls from vendors and things like that as well. But the biggest thing at state and national conventions is the resolutions. At state, you can learn what your state is thinking they want rural carriers to go, and you can present resolutions for the state. National is the same way. You get the state resolutions that get passed up to national, and you learn what the rest of the nation is thinking about this craft. And you'll be surprised at how many carriers across this nation think identically. They may not word it the same way, but they think identically. And that's what we're here to do, is to help bridge the gap across all these states to get everybody that thinks identically together as a whole united craft.
I wouldn't necessarily say identically, but similar interests, similar thoughts.
Similar passion.
Yes. Absolutely. Without that passion, man, I don't think I would have made it through this week. Whew, what a week it's been for me.
That monster drink.
Yes, monster drinks, because coffee does nothing. I had a box holder in with all that crap. DPS was not light at all. And what day was it? Yeah, because Tuesday, two of us we were told to be back off the street by 7. And it was 5 o'clock when I'm picking up my second load. And I still had mail for that back half. Because I go near the post office a couple times on my route. So it was just easier to do it that way. And by 5:45, I had to stop delivering all mail and get the rest of that truckload of packages out. Be back by 7. And then one of our 46K route had to do the same thing. Her and I are like, well, yeah, tomorrow DPS will have a tray and a half for the whole route. No big deal. We both brought a tray and a half back for the end of our routes. Yet no, she walked up to me and she's like, "Well, that really backfired for us today, didn't it?" I said, "Yes, yes, it did." I ended up casing 3/4 of a tray of DPS that came in for Wednesday. And once I then condensed everything down, I had 3 very full pack trays. And then Thursday was 4 trays of DPS, half a tray of pull down, and box holders. And I had nothing less than 164 scans the entire week. So yeah, it's been a week and 2 routes.
Now, I've got a question since we're all from all over the country, except for you two guys are pretty close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting all this grief from district management in regards to recording, taking pictures of, or bringing over copies of WSS that you're putting into your scanner? I've seen so many things on social media in regards to what carriers are required to do, and I'm sitting there going, it's not in the contract. They don't know what they're receiving as far as the printed materials are. That's not my concern. But the problem of it is that if you don't watch your scans every day, you don't know if you're actually getting that credit, because they have been known to go in and alter those numbers. And we just had that last time in the during the mini mail survey, where somebody was copiously approached about having 26 unscanned parcels. Oh, that was me. I'm sorry. and it was the Restoration Hardware catalog, which were too big to fit into the case with the mail. And gave that explanation and said, I want a printout of my report for tomorrow to make sure that they're in there. Well, we're not going to adjust them. And I says, I'm making sure that you don't.
So
I
at this fall booster, our district reps, we asked that, because a lot of people are scared of the fact that management can have access to that. And as it stands right now, as of today, because it was talked about today, there is no access for management to alter anything but your 4240. Now, that doesn't mean that national management can't alter the 4241s before they get sent to carriers, but because everything is so redacted, you can't understand it as it is. The district managers, the local managers, and even the regional managers do not have access to change your numbers.
Well, that would be great to believe if people weren't constantly having, boxes go vacant on them or mileage being reduced on them. And I'm not talking about tenths of a mile. I'm talking miles.
Yeah. And that's, and that's the other side of it.
Yeah. You want me to believe that they can't do that while they're doing it.
So on that, the mileage issue is inside the system. They don't know where it is, but everybody that's done mileage editing on the DPM and the LTM that may have had accurate mileage when they finished the mapping of their routes have lost mileage, gained mileage, changed mileage, whatever, to a different thing. They've changed the number of authorized dismounts. They've changed this. They've changed that. There's something wrong in the system itself that's making this happen. They don't know where. But like one of the carriers at this fall booster said, I have 63 miles on my route, but my 4241 says I only have 59 miles. And it was said 59 miles on the first 4241. Even though the first 4241, her LTM said 63 miles. And her second, just before, did the mapping just before this mini mail survey, it said 63 miles. So there's something wrong in the system itself. And as for the marking vacant, that is actually the system doing that after 30 days of no mail to that house. If it's not gone through if it doesn't have any mail go through the DPS for 30 days, the DPM automatically marks it vacant.
Wow, because I run a 96% coverage factor, and I don't have a single address on my route that doesn't get mail every week. So how can they be vacant? Are they counting the clerk mail?
They are not.
Are
They
they
are
counting
not counting the
misplaced?
flats. They're not counting flats. They're not counting raw mail into that. It is
Yeah.
strictly the informed visibility that's causing it. And
So guess what?
the union is aware of it, and they're trying to fix it supposedly. They're trying to fix it supposedly. But the post office won't let them fix it because that saves them money. And we're back to the black belt again.
So we're supposed to trust the system that the post office and the National Rural Letter Carriers Association agreed upon as being an equitable system for our compensation. But, and I mean but, you can't trust the system they agreed upon because it has so many flaws in it. It would make the sinking of the Titanic look like a casual day in the winter. Just
Exactly.
Run into an
And
iceberg.
don't forget the union.
People die.
The union's argument is that it was formed through arbitration, and the Postal Service argument is the union wanted this kind of system, and that's why it happened in arbitration. But the same arbitration is the same arbitration we got Table 2. This arbitration is the same arbitration that Jeanette Dwyer was responsible for. This arbitration was supposed to be a system to better measure rural carrier work performance, to get properly compensated for the work that we do, fair wages for fair work. And the problem is it took them 10 years from the finality of this arbitration to get what we have now put together. If they had just kept their grubby hands off of it and both sides just said, let the engineers do it, what the engineers come up with, that's what we'll use. Oh no, now it's got to be, no unscanned parcels. Oh no WSS. Oh, no WSH in there. No this, no that. That's the problem.
No unauthorized dismounts.
No extra authorized dismounts. No unscanned parcels. No trips to door. No door miscellaneous. Oh, and by the way, you can only load your truck for 5 minutes. And let's throw in one of the city ones. And you have to be out of the office in an hour. Our poor city carriers. Work takes what it takes to get done. The mail is never the same.
Now,
None
James,
of us.
Are you talking about the same system that the engineers came up with and the post office and the union agreed to that would provide for transparency? Is that the system you're talking about?
You mean the obtuse, clear as mud system that they came up with that has no answers to it because we can't see past the black lines that they put on the paper that's more redacted than a U-2 spy plane?
Yeah, that'd be the one.
I'm talking about the system where they canceled the mini mail survey last September without notice while we were at the convention until the new year, and then moved it back twice because, according to our then president, Ronnie Stutz, there wasn't any transparency, but we still went ahead with it in the spring, even though we had no transparency. That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. There hasn't been any transparency on both sides of the aisle to the union craft members. They can say, we put all this information out on the union website. No, I want to see the codec that went into this. I want to see the calculations. I don't want to have to build my own program to understand REX. I want a REX calculator on the union website. I want an ability to download a REX calculator where if I put in all the information from the PTR, the end of run reports, all that stuff into this calculator throughout the year, it'll spit out what my route evaluation will be. There's a mail count calculator still on the union website. You can still sit there and do an old-fashioned count on your route and see what your route would be. But there's not a REX calculator.
You know, there's a really funny thing that's sticking in my craw is that somebody on a national board pointed out the decline in the amount of mail, specifically DPS. And the question to the audience is, if you're only getting 82, you're getting 82 pieces per minute on DPS, which over 10 minutes is 820 pieces. How much is the DPS really affecting your evaluation? How is that minimal amount of credit towards your evaluation causing you to lose $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 off your route?
Yeah.
I want
90% of the loss. 90% of the loss was not inputting scans, and the mileage, the variable speed matrix.
Yes, the drive speed matrix, especially with your high miles, very rural routes. They suffered huge because of that drive speed matrix.
And not to mention the issue with CBUs. So if you had a high mileage route that had CBUs, you were screwed in this count.
You were bent over with no lube.
You know, and there's no fix in sight for that either. Yeah, well, we separated the CBUs and the curbside, but you didn't fix the numbers. You didn't fix the vacant first box kills the CBU.
How about the first box of my CBU's inactive?
If it's inactive, the whole CBU's inactive.
Yet the whole CPU gets plenty of mail.
Supposedly, they fixed that. Supposedly.
And then my question is, why haven't some CBU routes jumped in value? If that was the case,
Kristen, they do use lube. I prefer to use my own because theirs is laced with sand.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, seawater doesn't work.
Supposedly fixing it. I got some oceanfront property for you in Kansas, Josh. I don't believe nothing until I see it.
Exactly.
I haven't seen it.
Hey, I'm just telling you what I heard.
No.
And that's why I said supposedly.
I have a summer home that guarantees outside temperatures of 95 degrees in Alaska for you.
I'll take that one. Minus 95?
No, 95 degrees positive in Alaska.
It's gotten there before. It's gotten there before. I got family in Alaska. I know.
Oh, it's constant, year round, 95 degrees outside. That's the property I have for sale up there for you. So, anything else you guys had in mind, or? I know we can talk all night, but I think we should let our fans wait to see next week's episode. That's going to be a bombshell of an episode.
What's it about?
Didn't we just talk about it? Guess you're
Don't
going to
tell.
have to listen to this episode to find out what it was for a second
Don't
time.
tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Let's keep them in suspense.
Yeah. Although I'm sure they probably backed up and listened to it on the podcast itself.
No, I'm just to the point where, bless you. Bless you.
Thank you.
Ooh.
I was trying to hit the mute, but it wouldn't work.
Somebody's thinking about you.
I'm just to the point where I sit there and laugh. It's you have people like Kristen, who's an RCA and been an RCA for what, 8.5 years now.
It's been 8 years, 10 months yesterday.
So going out on her own dime, putting all this effort in. I know we have people in my office that I'm a single mom. I can't do this, I can't do that, and there are circumstances that would be. I have single moms who are involved. Okay.
I am technically a single mom.
Well, technically, I'm a nice guy. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah. But the thing of it is that, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, if you don't put the effort in, some effort, 10 minutes a night going over to the national website, observing what's new, what's in the REX program, your situation's not going to improve. Okay. If you don't stand up for yourself, your situation is not going to improve. Nobody's going to have your interest at heart as much as you are. So, it's time to shit or get off the pot and stand up for yourself. If you can, stand up for others, help others, educate others. But we're in this together, all of us, even the non-union paying members of the craft are in this together. We just had one where his K route dropped down to a J route. He's pissing and moaning and everything. And I said, well, you were given the same information as everybody else. Did you act on it? Well, no, because they're going to do what they're going to do. Well, they did, and this is what happened to you. Now, are you going to invest any time into improving your situation? And he looked at me, well, yeah. I said, there's your answer. So that's the problem. If you're not going to do it for yourself, who the hell are you going to do it for?
Exactly. I mean, I took a lot of time in my own office to help educate everybody. And it's, if I'm not doing this for me, I'm trying to help you guys. So far, they, for the most part, have listened. But, I can't force anybody. We're still trying to figure out how that one route stayed a 45K, but I don't know. She's done every day by 1:30, 2 o'clock on a 3 on a heavier day. Yeah. No clue, but I'm right out on evaluation on my 45K. It just,
Well, the same way I'm a 48K at 62 hours. Okay. And I'm done every day, between 4:30 and 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Almost spot on what my route's calling for. But the fact of the matter is that, not all routes are equal, even in the same office.
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. They are not.
Yep. My numbers are close to Bill's numbers. He's a little bit larger than I am, standard hours wise, but I do my route in 45 to 46 hours a week on average.
Yeah, it's been, and then running these 2 routes again this week. Luckily, I do have some relief, and she found yet another RCA willing to come and be tortured at our office.
I tortured RCA. Thank you.
I know one was listening. I didn't see if he's still on there or not, but yeah, he, poor tortured soul. He's gonna come and help me split my route tomorrow, so I can go to a funeral after work. So, but no,
Me,
Well,
I'm just a lowly 41, 42K. I don't have all the stories that you guys have.
Oh, don't worry. We just make this shit up and make you feel better.
hey, it was one of
Well,
those
thank you.
weeks. Throughout the course of the week, I had somebody got a new computer and printer. Somebody got two people got office chairs. Somebody got a queen size bed platform. Another one got a crib to double size bed transformation kit that took up the whole length of the LLV just about. Mattress, gaming chair, a couple office chairs. Yeah, it's been one of those weeks for me. Hauling furniture.
Yeah, and you want to talk about RCAs? I had a good RCA do my route on Saturday. Friday, going in the day after I had a day off, I cleaned up the entire mess there, and I had a WSS, like 5 bundles of radar flats, and another box holder of sorts. And I asked him, what do you want me to do? And he says, well, can you taco the WSS and throw up the bundle flats, and I'll take care of the rest. And that's how I treat my RCAs. I talk to them. I find out what they want me to do, how they want me to do it. Some of them like to stand it up, some don't. But I take care of them. So when I come back to the office tomorrow, my route with all confidence will be 100% clean, because I treat them the same way I expect to be treated.
Exactly. Exactly. I was never one. I always cleaned up a case as an RCA running multiple routes. And if time permitted and I thought about it, I would pull the holds for the next day too, just as a courtesy. Because I know a lot of times that they would do the same for me when I would be covering for them. Yes, the question there, yes, it was all ordered from Amazon. I just saw that, sorry. But,
You didn't have a kitchen sink?
no, that was a couple weeks ago, actually. I did have a
Yeah.
kitchen sink a couple weeks ago. Not this week.
Just checking, because you had everything else, so I figured you had to throw in the kitchen sink there somewhere.
No, like I said, that was a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Seriously was. I had to go on Amazon and look it up and see how much that sucker cost, because it was a fancy one too.
I did leave a notice for one customer who had a 12-foot rug ordered,
Yeah.
and supervisor wanted me to squeeze it in the truck. I says, you know what the length is that I can accept as far as uniform inches? She goes, no. I said 130, and she goes, yeah. And I said, well, 12 times 12 is what? She got her phone out and went to the calculator.
Really? It's 144 without even looking at a calculator.
I just walked away.
Wow.
To the roof. Oh.
Yeah, I initially was going to try and take out that toddler bed conversion kit, and I had put it up on top of stuff, but it was hanging too far out over the tray that if I had had to, Lord forbid, hit the brakes quickly, it would have went flying through the windshield. So I decided that was going on the second load so I could put it on the floor, because it did extend probably about a good 2 feet past the tray. Almost. Yeah, it was almost to that first. Yeah. But I was looking at going, yeah, that's kind of dangerous. I don't need that to fly through the windshield if something happens out there. Yeah, no. Oh. Boss wasn't going to let me leave a notice for it either. She's like, can you second trip it? And I'm like, really? Like, well, if I'm going to do a second trip it, I'm going to make it count.
Yeah.
Can you read my lips?
Speaking of which,
read my lip attached to my hand.
Yeah, all right. Now, I don't know, work has been interesting the last couple of weeks. The cleaning person that I talked about last week did in fact call the OIG's office. She did find out the next day. And went and had words with her where he then told her to her face that she was a miserable bitch. His last day's the 3rd. We have a clerk that's ready to walk out too. Yep. We're trying to tell her just
save money. Just get rid of that postmaster. That'll save him $100,000 a year.
Right? I know. But then we've got the narcissistic bipolar postmaster and the absent-minded professor as a supervisor. So yeah.
Well, if those rural carriers would be much nicer and we'd give everyone a hard time, maybe there wouldn't be so much conflict in your office.
Yeah, if we weren't so mean.
Yeah.
And sticking to the contract.
Right.
If we just did what they said instead of sticking to the contract, it wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, well.
Or as our postmaster said one time, he says, "Come on, help me out. Do me a solid." And I looked at him. I said, "When's the last time you did anything for us?"
Uh-huh. That was like her whole little, "You guys need to help me out." And all I could say from my inside my case was, "Some of us have been helping you out for the last 2 years." I left it at that. I don't know. Yeah, it's, but then as soon as she's like, "Oh, well, I had to cut my vacation short so you could have your day off," she's telling the other carrier. Pretty much guilt-tripping him for not working his J Day Saturday because his kid was getting married.
So don't worry, he'll be married again.
No, actually, it was his daughter. But,
based on national averages.
But, she basically was guilt-tripping him on, well, if the wedding doesn't start till 4, why can't you? That's not the whole point.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
She,
There's a whole day of prep, pictures, and everything else before the wedding even starts. Shut the hell up.
Oh, yeah. So she had to run the route yesterday. Because, there's nobody else in my office anymore. And, yeah, I ran my double before she was back. That route's a 46H.
I could drink a double before she got back.
Oh, yeah. I ran a 45K and an ox route. And she actually departed for the route before I did. Probably about a half hour before I did. And I beat her back by about 45 minutes.
All right. How about winding this thing down?
Yeah. My dinner's going to be here shortly.
An hour and a half. Yeah.
All right, Josh. What's your final thoughts and commentary for this evening?
Don't get overwhelmed. If you do, take a step back, take a deep breath, step back in. Have a good week, everyone. Hopefully this week won't be as ugly as this past week. James?
The biggest thing about anything in this craft is knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowing your job, knowing what to do, and knowing how to keep management from stepping all over you is the biggest thing you can ever do in this craft. Just remember, we talked about the events going on. If you can attend them, I highly recommend them, because the biggest thing is we're all in this together. Bill?
Well, with that in mind, I think I'll take a run down to Georgia and attend SAC. If I can stir up a little something down there.
Ooh, if I can get a sub, I may join you.
With everything going on in that conference there, things may be getting interesting for this upcoming year. Everybody, watch out for yourselves. Teach yourselves, learn, ask questions, challenge, stand up for yourself. and you help others. I think that's the most important message I can say in regards to my sign off, is that help others, because there's plenty of people out there that are willing to learn. They just don't know where to go. Tell them to listen to us on the United We Scan podcast. Get on the national website. Check out Rural Info Net. Check out many of the different websites that are out there that you can garner information from to better improve your situation in your office. We're here for you. We do this every week. We do it free of charge. I hate to say it, but from the goodness of our hearts, because we care. And with that, everybody, go out, do your job, best of your ability, be professional about it, be courteous, and make sure you get home safe every day, because you're the most important delivery. And I mean that. Your family's more important than this job.
Absolutely, guys. I appreciate it. It was nice to have everybody back this week, since Bill was gone last week and me the week before. So next week we will be back. And until then, have a safe week, everyone.